Okay, this is day one afternoon. Thanks everyone for coming back from lunch on time. We're gonna begin with an exercise so you can put your notebooks down. And I'm just gonna get you to sit in your chair comfortably, uncross your legs and arms, and close your eyes or lower your eyelids, and just try to relax your body. We're just gonna take a big exhale. Okay, I'm gonna begin. Recall when you were one. Recall when you were 1 year old. What had you already experienced? Recall when you were 5. Recall when you were 5. What needs did you have that weren't being met? Recall when you were 8. Recall when you were 8. Who had hurt you? Recall when you were 12. Recall when you were 12. How did you see yourself? Recall when you were 16. Recall when you were 16. Who were you angry with? Recall when you were 20. Recall when you were 20. Who were you blaming or making wrong? Okay, you can open your eyes. Does anyone have anything they wanted to share about that? Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next exercise. I want you to keep that in mind and what came up for you in the exercise in mind as we move to the next step. And so you're gonna get your notebooks out again, turn to a new blank page, and you're just gonna write your life story. And I just want you to start and keep writing until we tell you to stop. We're gonna give you about an hour, which feels like a long time, but it actually goes by pretty quickly. And you're just gonna write your life and honor your life by writing in full sentences, not in point form or poetry. Write full sentences. You're gonna work alone for this. And tell the truth. Be honest with yourself. Like every single exercise in this workshop, every single activity is an opportunity for you. It's an offering for you, and you get out what you put in. And so honor yourself by being honest with yourself and telling the truth. It doesn't have to be in chronological order, and you don't have to write your whole lifespan. Just start and keep going until we tell you to stop. If you get through your whole life, you can go back and add more things in. If you're going in chronological order, you can just write what comes to mind. Write about things that are incomplete, that are stuck, that you still have emotions tied to, that are still hurting you, that are still taking up space in your life. Don't just write about the happy things. And if emotions come up in this process, that's okay, that's normal. If we're going deep, it's normal for things to be triggering, for things to come up for you, and that's okay. Don't let it stop you. Just keep writing through it, and you will calm yourself down, and just keep going. You will be reading your story to one person of your choice in this room. And so if you want to identify that person now, that's okay if that makes you feel better. But yeah, we will be reading our stories to one person of your choice. And like I said, keep in mind the previous exercise and what came up for you at those ages, or if there's anything else that you were thinking of during that time, and include that in your story. Okay, so we're gonna start, and I'll give you about an hour. And then I would just encourage them to keep writing, and I would walk around the room and just encourage people to keep writing, especially if they've stopped. Say, okay, it's been about an hour now, so now we're gonna take a break. So let's be back in 15 minutes. And then we come back. Okay, thanks everyone for coming back on time. So we're gonna pair up with that partner that we chose now. Try to choose someone who's not your spouse or relative or who would have their own version of your life story. Just try to choose someone else in the room if possible. Okay, and you're gonna move and sit with your partner, and you're going to read your story to your partner once through, and then you're gonna switch. The other partner will read their story once through, and then we'll repeat that 3 times. So each person will read their story 3 times, or until we say stop. So at least 3 times each. Read only what's written, don't add things, don't explain details, and don't leave things out. If emotions come up, that's normal, that's okay. Continue to speak through them. And for the partner that's listening, just listen. Don't add your thoughts, comments, feedback, advice. We're not counseling them. We're not sharing our own personal experience while the other person's reading their story. There's no judgment in this. You're just listening. You can thank them for sharing, and then move on. We're just listening to that person's story. Also, don't touch the other person, please, before or after or during them reading their story. Okay, and so then they would do that exercise, and then once everyone's done, we'd come back into the big group. Okay, so now we're gonna go back to our stories on our own. And so you're gonna read through your story on your own again. And as you're going through, I want you to circle areas or events that feel incomplete. And so when something's incomplete, that means it's still sticky for us. We might have like a visceral reaction to thinking about it. It might bring up bad memories. It might have a lot of heaviness or sadness or anger or resentment or just a lot of emotion tied to it. And so you're gonna read through your story 3 times and circle each time, go through and circle things that feel incomplete to you. Okay, and then they're gonna do that exercise. And then once everyone's done that, we're gonna come back together in a large group. And I'm just gonna ask everyone, what did you notice about the last 3 exercises that we did? And people will share. And usually in this, people notice, I know I did, that they have a lot in common with the other people in the room, particularly with the partner that they shared their stories with. And I think it's a good time to point out that a lot of these things we wrote down, we might be afraid to talk about, we might be afraid to say out loud. But when we do this, we realize that we're not alone in this, and that by keeping ourselves quiet, by not sharing, by withdrawing, by hiding, we're keeping ourselves isolated, when in reality, there's probably several people in this room who have a similar experience, who have similar pain, who have similar incompletions, and can empathize with you about that. Okay, I'm gonna ask the group, who is it that you're in conversation with the most? The answer is yourself. But so you're gonna write a page in your notebook, a blank page, 2 questions. What conversations am I always having with myself? And then give yourself space to answer. And what am I always listening for? And I might ask someone if they have an example of that comes to mind right away. A conversation I'm always having with myself is, don't do that, people will be upset with you, or am I good enough? It has to be perfect. And what am I always listening for is that probably that it's okay, that you're okay, that you can make mistakes, that people aren't going to hate you. What am I always listening for? Validation, probably. And so you're going to write about that in your own notebook, and then we'll come back and share as a group. I'll ask people what they wrote and what their interpretation is of it. And so this exercise, these two questions are about understanding the conversation that lives in your head, that you're always having with yourself, that's taking up space and that's in front of the spirit of who you really are. Like that you're so worried about this conversation and worried about this answer that it's taking up so much space and it's standing in front of who you really are and your own self-empowerment. Okay. And then I would have my flip chart that says the homework assignment. Pretend it's here. Okay, so that is the end of our in-person session today. So now there is homework before you leave. There is homework. And so the homework is, let me find my flip chart. Okay, so the flip chart says, and I'm going to read it, choose 2 people in your life who have passed on and write a letter to each one, saying what you never got to say to them when they were alive. Write as if you're speaking to them, not about them, and without blaming them or yourself or making them or yourself wrong. And so you're choosing 2 people to honor, and we'll go around at the end and make sure everybody has 2 people. I think for young people, sometimes you don't have 2 people in your life that have passed on, and you're gonna write 1 paragraph per person. It doesn't have to be long, and honestly, get to the point. Like, don't ramble, don't over explain, just get to the point and say what you need to say. Tell them what you never told them and what you need to say to be complete. And you can refer back to the 16 questions we did, your life story, all the exercises we've done today to help identify what is it that you need to say? What is it that's still incomplete for you with this person? Again, no blaming them or yourself or making anyone wrong. Just say what is, and there's no judgment about this. There's no good or bad. There's no right or wrong. It's just saying the truth, saying what needs to be said. Write in full sentences as if you're speaking to them. Get to the point, and you will be sharing these tomorrow with the group. Okay, does anyone have any questions before we go? Okay, thanks everyone. Take care of yourselves tonight, and we'll see you all tomorrow.